Man, unbelievable. Rejoin his T-shirt too. We rocking our T-shirts. I wanted this song was talking about this guy that's coming up. What a man, what a mighty good man.
I know that's maybe.
He is CL Brown.
He's a dressing man, that's for
I
sure.
know he covers all things sports, in particular basketball for the News Observer. He rock with us each and every Tuesday, same place, same time. Good morning, CL. How you doing, brother?
Good morning.
I was looking over my shoulder like, y'all talking about me?
No one has the lowdown like CL Brown.
Oh, man. What's up, man? Hey, we got a lot of questions for you today, so I guess we should get started, huh, Pam?
Yeah, let's get started.
See, how you go from number 1 to 18? This is my question.
I mean, you've been seeing the product out there. This year I have a vote in the AP poll, and
That's
even
right.
last week before they played James Madison on that Sunday, I was really thinking about putting Houston number 1 before Carolina actually lost the game. Now Hubert Davis made a good point after they beat Portland that first game in the Phil Knight Invitational,
Right.
that it wasn't looking the way people thought it should look in terms of being a number one ranked team, and you would think that they would be blowing teams out and stuff like that. I think for me it's more that Carolina hadn't played to its potential, and they were ranked number 1 based on the potential of returning 4 starters and adding an experienced grad starter into the lineup, and they just hadn't played up to that consistently. We've seen it for a half here and there,
Yeah.
and in stretches, but we hadn't seen that consistently, and obviously that caught up to them for 2 of those games in Portland.
Awesome. We're talking to CL Brown with the News and Observer. I wanted to get you to expound on something. I love your secondary breaks on Instagram.
Good stuff, man.
Oh,
Good stuff.
appreciate it.
So I'm always watching those. And you talked about, after this last Carolina game, you talked about moving forward, some things to keep an eye on. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so one of the things that's really urgent, and we'll talk to Hubert Davis today. They're already at in Indiana for their game tomorrow night against the Hoosiers. But Armando Bacot, he like retweaked his ankle in the loss to Alabama, and so that'll that'll be a pretty big deal if he's not able to go Wednesday night. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. And plus, just moving forward, I mean, you know how tricky an ankle can be.
Yep.
It's not something that is just kind of like a one-time thing and you're good to go.
That's right.
So and he didn't really he didn't really know the play that it happened. Like it just kind of happened, and he played through it for a long time, and then he said it stiffened up, and then there was pain with it. So that's why he didn't play those last 2 overtime periods. But Leaky Black also tweaked an ankle in that game.
I saw that. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things too that I mentioned in the secondary break episode was that Caleb scored a career high 34 points against Bama, but he shot 36 times. And so now wait, I'm gonna come to Caleb's defense for some of that, because
Okay.
Hubert, especially in that first half of that game, played some different lineup combinations where you're looking on the floor and you're asking yourself who is going to score in this lineup.
Right.
There's a lineup where it was like Love, DeMarco Dunn. I can't even remember everybody now. Puff was out there, maybe Nance, and then another bench player. And so you know what I mean? Like it was just like, in using his bench and in trying to get people acclimated to the lineup, it doesn't necessarily mean that what you're putting out there is going to have the same kind of offensive options. So It seemed like he felt more empowered and obligated even to be taking those shots with the lineups, a couple of the lineups that were out there. And especially when Nance and Bacot were in foul trouble in our first half. And, Will Shaver got his first playing time
I saw
of
that.
the year.
I saw that. Got his first 2 points, too, with the free throws.
Dontrez Styles played. He's kind of been a forgotten man, this season because he hadn't played a ton, but he got in that game, So, but Caleb's going to have to be more efficient, with his shot selection. And he could score 34 points in like 20 shots. You know,
Mhm.
like he
Mhm.
could be a lot more efficient than he's been so far this year.
Mm.
And they're gonna need him to be better moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to talk this morning, CL, because I had a bunch of questions. We talked to CL Brown, News Observer. CL, you mentioned Dontrez Styles, and I'm real puzzled about this one because personally, I'm thinking that if something's going on where he's not on the floor, and I think the bench is going to be crucial going down the stretch for this team. Any particular reason from based on your opinion why he's not getting more time, or if any?
Well, it's kind of like when you're wanting the backup quarterback to come in, but you don't see the practices. You know what I
Gotcha.
Mhm.
mean?
No, no,
Like,
I understand. I understand it. Yep.
yeah,
Uh huh.
yeah. So I think it's a matter of Dontrez hasn't been consistent enough in practice,
Yep.
in knowing where he needs to be and what he needs to do
Hmm.
to be out there on the floor.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the same thing with these people at Clemson wanting to bench DJU and
Yep.
go with the backup.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Dabo would have been pulled the hook if the backup was
Thank
like
you.
that. I
Thank
mean,
you.
we
Thank
saw
you.
what he did with Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant. You know,
Yep.
when they saw
Sure
the
did.
talent
Yep.
arise, that's what they did. And also, for NFL reference, most of us didn't know that Aaron Rodgers was going to be like that.
Right.
And Green Bay still had Brett Favre, still
Yep.
had some years on them left when they
Mm.
said, "Guy, you good?
Yeah. No.
We gonna go with Rodgers." Like, practice matters, and
Mm.
coaches can tell a lot about what's going on in practice.
Let's go across the street a little bit over at Duke
Mhm.
because I it, I was trying to somewhat analyze a little bit of the loss they had against Purdue. Um, Purdue is just that good, or the Blue Devils not as good as we thought they would be.
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
And I also think there is such a thing as teams that peak early.
Mm.
Okay.
And Purdue to me has a tendency to do that. I
That's
mean,
true.
you can look back to
That's true.
last season, when they beat Carolina in the Hall of Fame tip-off last season. Purdue looked like a Final Four team,
You're right.
you know.
Right.
And I mean, they lost to St. Peter's or whatever in with Sweet 16, so it's not like they failed,
Mm-hmm.
like it was a big fail in the tournament, but it did seem like they were playing at a peak performance earlier in the year, and I think right now in terms of that they were ahead of Duke,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean I think Duke will get better and be better, but I think right now for Duke I think scoring is just a problem. Like
Mm.
defensively, they seem to be they seem to be ahead of the game. They seem to be on their game defensively,
Sure.
but I think scoring is a problem. Especially Jeremy Roach, had a hurt toe and was kind of
Mm.
hobbled in that
Mm-hmm.
game, and he's basically what makes them go right now as kind of the experienced, the veteran guard in that lineup. So they're gonna need him healthy too because Ohio State is playing well, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
coming into Cameron, even though it is, a home game. That's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're talking to CL Brown with the News and Observer. You talked a little bit about it last week, and we see them number 3 now. How are you feeling about Virginia?
Oh, Virginia right now is going to have to carry the mantle for the ACC. the,
Mm-hmm.
the ACC is looking a little sketchy
Yeah. Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now. They have a couple of the best wins, when they beat Baylor and Illinois last week. And you basically, with the veteran team returning like Tony Bennett had, I knew it was going to be a better team and a better experience
Mm.
for Virginia because he has a system and a program. You can't just, you can't just be like a one and done talent and come in and shine. It takes a while to really get used to. It takes a while for you to get in sync the
Mm-hmm.
way you need to be with everybody else, especially defensively. And so, yeah, they're looking like the cream of the crop right now in the ACC. But I also think probably their ceiling is a little bit lower than Carolina's and Duke's, but there's no guarantee Carolina and Duke are going to get to, maxing out that potential. So
Yeah.
we'll see how all that develops. But, Carolina's going to have a tough week, man, because playing at Indiana is going to be an intense environment. It's going to be like a late February kind of conference game.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be an intense place to play. And then they got to go on the road at Virginia Tech on Sunday,
Oh, my
which
goodness.
Virginia Tech is
Oh, my.
I saw them last night. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they're playing well. That'll be a pretty charged environment too. So
we may be
I know Carolina
might be out of the top.
You may be out of the top 25 by Tuesday.
And the frustrating part for me, CL, is just what you were talking about with Virginia having the veteran players. That's what we have.
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
That is
so
true.
what's going on?
It makes you wonder what the disconnect is. Well, I think Pete Nance coming into the lineup. There's been just an adjustment period to kind of get used to his game and how it fits in and relates to everybody else. But I mean, I put the onus squarely on Caleb Love and RJ Davis
Me too.
as the experienced guards in this lineup. I don't think that they've figured it out yet either. Like I think they've probably been, I don't know the best way to put it, but I just feel like they're putting too much pressure on themselves, and I don't think that they are allowing or really facilitating the way that they can right now. Because I think Carolina plays its best offensively when they're going through Baycott.
Yep.
And making sure he gets touches and is doing his thing. Like you look back to the Iowa State loss. Iowa State had their front court was in foul trouble like 5 minutes into the game.
Yep.
And Baycott didn't get enough shots, didn't get enough chances to score. So I think that's kind of, to me, has been an issue. But I also say I don't think Baycott has been as good as he was last year. I think he's kind of been slow to get back to form, I should say. Even when you look at him having 20 and 10 against Alabama, you look at it like he left some stuff out there.
And see, we're gonna let you go after this conference. I get really, we could talk to you an hour about
exactly.
this stuff. But one of the things, the first mistake was naming them number one. I think that affected them more than anything. I think everybody coming back, they thinking, in my mind, everybody they play against should lay down because they went to the final game and now everybody's coming back and they're number one. I think they're reading, old school conversation about reading your own press clippings, and I think that has something to do with this, in my opinion.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I just think that they haven't figured it out yet. I think more they thought they were gonna just be able to pick up where they left off last year.
And this is a different team. Totally different
team.
Yep.
And the season is a journey, and you got to get to that level where you're clicking and everybody's on the same page, and you have that continuity on the floor. And I think that more than anything, they just thought it was going to be easier just to pick up and roll the ball out there, and everybody's thinking the same and moving the same.
Right.
And it hasn't been that way. So, but they can get it there. I mean, I think if anything, last year has proved to this team, and they have a calmness about them that we took a couple of lumps and stuff, but we know we can get this better, and I think it'll happen. But I hope for their sake it happens before Wednesday night.
I know.
Me too,
I mean, and we're still technically in November, so let's everybody calm down. I think. I don't know. We see. We may have some problems. Hey man, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Very good information.